Get ready to get acquainted with the afterlife, because we're about to look at 10 objects from the Life and Death expansion pack that you need to start using. As always, we'll look at 5 standout objects, as well as 5 that I believe to be underused. Let's go! First up is a standout, being the Ascendant Crow. And yes, this is essentially a cute pet crow. What you might not have initially realized is that there are actually 2 types of crows that you can obtain. One being the standard crow, which is purchased from buy mode, and the other being the deluxe Ascendant Crow, which can be bought from a ghost named Waylon. Where to find Waylon, you ask? Well, he hangs out by the crypts within the Crow's Crossing area of the Ravenwood world. Now, our feathered crow friends spend most of their time on their perch, but note that they'll also disappear here and there to go live their best life communicating with the Crow Collective. Hovering over a standard crow will display their mood, their hunger, and the cleanliness of their perch, all of which you'll want to ensure remains in a good state by regularly interacting with and feeding your crow, as well as by cleaning their perch when it becomes a little dirty. It's easier to take care of a deluxe Ascendant Crow though, as the big perk they come with is that they don't need to be fed and their perch will always remain clean, making them a lot less needy. I know, it's amazing what being deluxe can do. It's also worth knowing that the first time a sim interacts with the deluxe Ascendant Crow, they'll also obtain the World Tarot card. Just as important as caring for your crow is connecting with and befriending them, or even making them your enemy, though the enemy part is more for if you have a sim that you want to eliminate from your game. I'm serious here. Be very careful when provoking crows, because if you annoy them one too many times, then they might just kill you. And when I say might, I mean they absolutely will. It's a death that's not too difficult to cause and that has less warnings than usual, so in short, be nice to crows. Repeatedly using friendly social interactions with crows, giving them gifts, or even just watching them can help improve your relationship with them. And interacting with your crow can even lead to some small positive moodlets. Notably, once you've built up a good relationship with your crow, you'll be able to accept gifts offered by them, which can include various collectibles like fish and crystals. Note though that you'll only be able to accept a gift around every 18 hours, so maybe don't rely on it for an income. And as long as you're nice to them, then they'll make for an awesome household pet that'll provide you with a small gift from time to time. Let's move on to an underused object, being Lady Ravendancer Goth's tarot deck. And the reason this one's underused is because it's rather hard to obtain. One way to get it is by completing the tarot cards collection before combining all of the cards to make the deck, while another, arguably easier way is to purchase it with 8,000 satisfaction points. Yes, 8,000. These cards don't come cheap. Now you can use this tarot card deck just like a regular deck and draw a nightly reading from it, which can be quite fun. But in addition to this, Lady Ravendancer Goth's tarot deck comes with 3 meditative divination powers. Firstly, there's affirmation healing, and this will remove most negative moodlets from your sim. It also only has an 8-hour cooldown, meaning that it can be used pretty often to wipe away negative emotions and keep your sim happy. Then there's Divine Slumber, and this provides your sim with a +1 happy moodlet for 10 hours. And while this moodlet is active, you'll gain energy faster while sleeping, which is an awesome perk. This can be used once every 10 hours, and seeing as the happy moodlet lasts for 10 hours, well, it can be used pretty much constantly. Finally, you can use the deck to summon our Lady Ravendancer, who will show up at your house moments later. And Lady Ravendancer is a rather interesting figure who has most of the good ghost mastery powers unlocked. And we do love befriending friendly ghosts, I think. Maybe. I'm not sure, but anyway, let's keep going. Next up is another standout object, being an undead or ghost cowplant. And just like Lady Ravendancer's tarot deck, there are 2 ways to obtain this. Within the Crow's Crossing area of the Ravenwood are 2 houses that can become haunted by ghosts, and this is shown through their windows glowing blue. When this happens, you'll be able to send a sim over to these houses to cleanse the ghostly infestation, and if the cleansing is successful, then there's a chance that you'll obtain an Undead Cowplant as a reward. Then the second way to obtain an Undead Cowplant is to purchase one for 3,000 satisfaction points. Now these cowplants do just function the same as the live cowplants that you're used to, meaning that you can pet, feed, and play with them, and additionally they'll get hungry if they're not fed and offer up some cake. As we all know, if Sims try to eat the irresistible cake, then they'll be eaten instead, before then being spat back out. Following this, your cowplant can then be milked for an essence that captures the emotion that the eaten Sim was feeling, and you can later drink this essence to experience that emotion. Do be warned though, because if your Sim is eaten too many times in a short time frame, then, well, they'll die. I know, not very fun. There is a plus side though, being that after a cowplant kills a Sim, they can be milked for the essence of life, and drinking this will reset your Sim's age back to the beginning of their current life stage. While the cowplant gameplay isn't all too new, one major thing that's worth noting is that living cowplants are really difficult to keep alive, as if not fed for around a day or two, they'll turn into a skeleton, and this makes them kind of tedious to play with. If I'm honest, I don't think I've ever been able to keep one alive for more than around a week. And that's what makes the Undead Cowplant so great. It's technically already dead, and so you'll never have to worry about it passing away, which is fabulous. Moving on to an underused object being the Death Frog, which can most reliably be obtained by entering the frog contest at the Ravenwood Family Day or by looking for frogs around Ravenwood. You can display a Death Frog, and while this is a bit cute, the real perk comes from using a Death Frog in cooking. I know, death of the Death Frog, it's all very tragic. With level 7 of the cooking skill, you can use a Death Frog to make a boiling Death Frog hot pot, which is not to be confused with the standard boiling frog hot pot. Once made, eating this will provide your Sim with a happy moodlet for 4 hours, and during this time they'll temporarily turn into a ghost. I think what I love most about this is the fact that you can make an 8-serving dish that can turn multiple Sims into ghosts at once, and so it can be pretty fun to cause chaos with. You know, you could always just serve it up at a party and see what unfolds. On top of this, if a Sim passes away and you then plead for that Sim's life while having a Death Frog in your inventory, then Grim will take the Death Frog as payment and revive the would-be deceased Sim. So yes, this little Death Frog can save lives. The 5th standout object we'll be exploring is the Crypt of Eternity. This can be purchased in buy mode and placed on your own lot. However, these crypts also function well on community and specifically cemetery lots, and you can also find them around the place within the Ravenwood world too. If your Sim is tired, then you'll be pleased to know that you can nap in crypts, and if they're conversely full of energy and have a lover, then the good news is that it's also a woohoo location. An odd choice for sure, but it's an option. Perhaps more interestingly is that crypts can be explored, and this will see Sims enter an ongoing loop of text-based interactions where they can find various things, from money to random objects and even collectibles, including a couple of tarot cards which are only able to be obtained by exploring crypts. Note that as these crypt explorations can go on indefinitely, you'll likely have to cancel your interaction of exploring the crypts to see your Sims exit them. Additionally, Sims can tell ghost stories inside a crypt too, potentially leaving both the storyteller and the listeners with various moodlets. Of course, there's one more major benefit of crypts, being that you can store up to 20 graves or urns within them. Especially for generational or legacy playthroughs, this can help create a family crypt and keep the graves of a family's past generations in one place. Storing these graves in a crypt located on a cemetery lot that can be visited from time to time works really well for this too. And also know that you can still interact with graves located within a crypt from a crypt's inventory. For the 6th object, we're heading back to an underused object being souls. That's right, souls. These can be purchased for 200 coins each from Wayland near the crypt in the Crow's Crossing area of the Ravenwood. However, if you're in the Reaper career, then there are some more ways that your Sims can obtain souls, including by reaping Sims during an active workday, reaping plants, and additionally fishing for souls within the Morningvale area of the Ravenwood. If you're in the Reaper career, then releasing souls to the Netherworld portal is a great way to boost your work performance. But even if you're not playing as a Reaper, you'll be pleased to know that souls have another use, being to make soul soup. This requires level 5 cooking and a soul to whip up, and after a Sim eats it, they'll gain a strong energized moodlet. While this moodlet is active, all of your Sim's needs will be maxed, and they'll also remain maxed for the moodlet's duration. However, note that after the moodlet wears off, your Sim's needs will plummet back to around where they were before you ate the soup. And so it's a bit more of a band-aid solution rather than a long-term fix. Still, it's rather helpful for if your sim has something they need to do and you desperately need a quick needs fix to get it done. Alrighty, next up is a small group of standout objects that are all kind of related, being gravesites, the classic casket, and memorial displays. Urns can be placed on a gravesite to assign that sim to it, with your sim still being able to perform all the usual grave interactions by clicking on the tombstone or urn. And similar to crypts, this works particularly well for setting up a gravesite on a cemetery lot. Additionally, graves can be put into the classic casket, and this is an object you'll certainly want to make use of for a funeral event, especially as you'll be able to place drapery or flowers onto it. Finally, once a sim has passed, you may want to purchase a memorial display which can be dedicated to a sim or household. A must for these displays in my opinion is popping the in loving memory frame onto them, which automatically displays the face of the sim who the memorial display is dedicated to. And of course you can also pop a few trinkets that remind you of the deceased sim on the memorial display too. Using this display, sims can reminisce about those who've passed or talk to the display as well, and it's just a nice way to remember sims who have passed away in your game, particularly if they were close with the sims who are still actively being played. Overall, these just combine to allow you to honor sims who've passed away in your game in a meaningful way. Now for a very quick underused object being the no ghosts allowed sign, and put simply, if you pop this onto a lot, it'll prevent ghosts from visiting, and this is rather handy for if you're the kind of player who hates it when ghosts pop up out of nowhere. The final standout object is the Quaint Crowskin journal, and specifically in the context of the Life and Death expansion pack, this object can be used to write goals in order to influence and fill out a sim's bucket list, which in turn will help a sim progress through their soul's journey. Interestingly, if your sim has recently witnessed a death, attended Afterlife Anonymous within the Morningvale area of the Ravenwood, or if they have the Chased by Death trait, then they'll be able to write a perfect goal and choose exactly what goal they want to add to their bucket list. It's worth knowing that you can also use a computer to write goals, however journals are a lot cheaper, and also for some reason I just really like seeing sims sit down to write out their goals because that's how I personally like to write out my own goals. And now let's look at the 10th final object, which is an underused one, being the mysterious object, which really is just a sim's plumb bob. Now these are purely cosmetic, but they're kind of like a hidden collection. Ghost sims who have reached the 4th stage of their soul's journey will have a new interaction on their urn to move on to the great beyond. When selecting this interaction, a ghost will leave behind their plumb bob in the physical world, which you'll then get to keep. Interestingly, if a ghost sim that moves on is also an occult sim, then these plumb bobs will also leave a band around them to symbolize that. And additionally, if a sim has fully completed their soul's journey by reaching the big picture checkpoint, then after moving on, their plumb bob will be prismatic in color too. But perhaps just as important as the object itself is that when a ghost moves on using this interaction, all other household members will gain the perspectives on death trait, which helps sims to deal with grief better and also provides them with a boost to progress they make towards advancing their soul's journey. But aside from this trait, the plumb bobs can make for a cool little hidden collection that you can try to complete. And that's 10 objects from the Life and Death expansion pack that you need to start using. If you enjoyed or found this helpful, then you can also check out some of my other videos on objects you need if that interests you. And as always, I hope you have an amazing day. See you later!